Hey guys, what's up? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Crissanna, and if you're new, welcome, and if you're an oldie, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a full face of Wet n Wild. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while just because Wet n Wild is such a popular brand for the drugstore. Just about anybody probably owns something that is Wet n Wild. So I've been meaning to do this video for a while. So I did go to Five Below and pick up a few more things that I didn't have in my collection. So we are going to jump right in with this video. So if you couldn't tell, I do already have my eyebrows done, and for that I used the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Kit. That eyebrow kit has been my go-to for years. I absolutely love it, and anything that I try to use just does not compare to that, so I absolutely love that. So I'm going to do the eyeshadow first. So the eyeshadow kit that I picked up is my Glamour Squad. Looks like this. And I thought this would be the perfect palette just because fall is right around the corner. Sorry if you guys see me running my fan or hear my fan. It's really hot today here in Towanda. It's like 90 degrees. So I've been pretty hot all day, especially filming with a bunch of lights in my face. It does get really hot. So I've tried Wet n Wild's eyeshadow primers before, and I just am not fond of them. So I actually got the concealer. This one is in the shade Light Ivory. I'm going to go in my concealer buffer brush by Best Hope, just to buff that in. And most of the brushes today I will be using are Wet n Wild. I do have a few eyeshadow brushes, and I do have a few face brushes. So I'm first going to grab this transition shade right here. For that, I'm just going to use one of these Wet n Wild brushes. It's kind of like a bigger eyeshadow brush. And this is going to go kind of a little above the crease. I'm just going to pack that. This actually isn't the right brush to use, so I'm going to pick up this blending one by Wet n Wild. Same thing, just going to blend that right above the crease. The only thing with Wet n Wild eyeshadows is I feel like they can be a bit dry sometimes. The pigment is there, but the blending, I don't know. They're not that really well for blending. Just going to get my little compact mirror just so I'm right here so you guys can see. This is a very pretty shade though. Now I have the Nude Awakening eyeshadow palette by Wet n Wild, and I feel like this one so far the pigment is a lot better and the blendability is a lot better as well. Now I'm going to grab this shade right here, and that's going to go directly into the crease. So I'm going to go back in with that first Wet n Wild brush and just pack that right into the crease. Like, wow, now that color is super, super pigmented. Now I really, really like that color. This is totally giving me like pumpkin fall vibes. Same thing on the other eye, right into the crease. I am seriously shocked at how pigmented this color is. Like absolutely shocked, because in the Nude Awakening palette that I have, any of the darker eyeshadows aren't as dark as they look. And it takes a lot of building up to get them like as dark as they look in the pan. So far, I'm really, really impressed. Like, wow. I'm going to go back in with that transition shade again, using that same blending Wet n Wild brush. I'm just going to get that right above the last dark color, just to kind of blend those edges out a little. So now I'm going to go in with this dark shade right here. For that, I'm going to use a Jessup Detail Shader brush. And with this color, I'm just going to pack this right on the outer V. I don't want to bring it too far in or too far out. Wow, I am so impressed with how good these colors are like blending together. So now I'm going to go back in with this orange shade right here. Just blend that right here. So now I'm going to grab a Petite Eye Blender brush by Jessup. Just bring it right around these edges. Going back in with that Wet n Wild blending brush and just blending this part right here. So now I'm going to grab this shade right here for shimmer. I'm going to use this flat brush by Wet n Wild. I am going to try this brush dry. See how it works. If not, we'll get it wet. Wow. Pigment is really there with the shimmer. Now I'm going to take some of this brown shade right here. I'm going to go back in with that smaller Jessup brush. I'm just going to pop that right here where the shimmer and the matte meet. So I'm going to go back into this shade right here. I'm going to go back in with that Petite Eye Brush by Jessup. Just see if we can't get that outer V just a smidge darker. Not picking up any more product. I'm going to go back in with that Wet n Wild blending brush. Just going to go right around those edges again. Just softly, kind of blending everything upward. Okay, as for right now, we are done with the eyeshadow. For the mascara I got was the Wet n Wild Boosted Volume Mascara. This is in the shade Very Black. I think I've only tried one or two other mascaras from Wet n Wild, and I really wasn't fond of them. Of course, they are much cheaper, so I don't expect the best quality from them. So this is how the wand looks. It's like a pretty nice wand. So we're just going to go ahead and start layering this on. And I did not get any false lashes from Wet n Wild because the only pair that I've ever seen are at the Dollar Tree, and they're totally horrible. They feel like pure plastic. So I just said I'll just do just mascara. So I did about 4 coats on my lashes, and I'm definitely not the biggest fan of it. It doesn't give me as much volume as like the Essence Lash Mascara does. But I'm going to let that dry down, and then we'll go back in with a few more coats. So now we're going to move on with the part that I'm most excited about for this video, and that's for the face. So I actually have 2 different primers. I have the Wet n Wild Mega Jelly Primer. And I tried this the other day, and I absolutely love this stuff. Then I also picked this one up at the Five Below, and this is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Rose Primer. So I think I'm actually going to try them both. I'm just not sure which one I want to do first. Maybe I'll prime with the jelly, and then I'll spray with the rose after that. I mean, this stuff is literally like pure jelly. Like if you can see, some fell in the cap. Like it literally reminds me of like straight up like Jello. If any of you guys have ever tried this, let me know, because I haven't really seen anybody even using this stuff. I'm not sure if it's new. I think it says on the cap. Nope, it doesn't say that it's new. So I'm not really sure. So I absolutely love the way this feels in the face. I know with the e.l.f. one, once it dries down, it's a lot more sticky. This one isn't as sticky. So now I'm just going to go ahead and spray with the rose water. And I literally feel like that got everything wet. So this rose water can be used, it's a 3-in-1 primer water. It can prep, set, and refresh. So I do have a setting spray, but I might actually use this one instead because I haven't ever used this as a setting spray before. Now we're going to move on for foundation. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. This is in the shade Buff Bisque. And I actually have tried this before, and I really do like it. I just didn't have the right shade, so I had to pick another one up. And I really love the little applicator on this. I feel like I'm just kind of like painting my face. And the thing I really love about this foundation is when you blend it in with a beauty blender or a sponge, it kind of just like feels like a velvet on the skin. It's very soft. So I'm going to take my Anesthetica sponge just to blend that all in. I feel like that didn't cover much, so I am going to add like another layer. And for reference, if you guys are going to pick this up at Five and Below, or pick it up at all, I definitely wouldn't do 5. There isn't much of a color range. There's only, I think maybe like I seen like maybe 5 or 6 different shades. That could be just my 5 and below, but your best bet is Walmart. There's probably more shades. But I seriously forgot how much I actually like this foundation, because this was my go-to for like a year or two. Like this is like all I wore. Literally, I used like 2 bottles, and when they were both gone, I ran right back up to Ulta and grabbed another one. That is once again in the shade, did I say? Light Ivory. Same with this concealer. I used this concealer for a really long time too. But of course, I had to get a different one because the shade I had was like super, super fair. I'm also going to put a little here on the side of my mouth. I'm going to go back in with that black sponge. Just blend that in. And anything that I am talking about or showing, I will leave linked down in the description box below. Just going to take the other end of that sponge that I had the foundation on, just to kind of blend all that out a little more. Now that we got foundation highlight on, the setting powder I got is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus in the shade Translucent. And then once again, for this, there wasn't really a shade range. I think the only one that I seen was the Translucent. So I'm going to use my Real Techniques setting brush, just because it is a little bit smaller so I can get under my eyes really well. It's definitely drawing down my foundation quite a bit, which I don't mind that. I like my face to kind of look a little more matte. Sometimes I like a dewy finish too, so I guess it all just depends. So I did already have a bronzer in my collection, but I realized that I had shimmer, so I picked this one up. This is called the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer, and it's called What Shady Beaches. So I'm hoping that this is a matte bronzer. It looks pretty matte to me. That's what it looks like with it opened. Definitely a bronzer. I probably wouldn't ever use this to contour. So I'm just going to use a brush by Profusion. Just bronze up my face a little bit. The more I'm working with it, the more I actually do like it. So I did not have a blush for Wet n Wild, so I'm going to use the e.l.f. This is in the shade, doesn't even have a shade. This thing is so old. I got it like probably 5 or 6 years ago. But I mean, it's like $1 or $2, so forgive me, I completely forgot. So I'm going to take this brush by Wet n Wild, just apply that right to my cheeks. Oh gosh, I forgot literally how sparkly this was. And then to highlight, I'm sure this is no surprise to anyone that watches my channel. It's the Wet n Wild highlighter in the shade Golden Flower Crown. I absolutely love this stuff. If there was a lighter shade, I definitely would have picked up a lighter shade, because this one is a little bit too dark for me. So if you have medium to dark skin tone, this highlighter would be perfect for you. So I'm going to grab a highlighting brush by Cheek Pro. Let's get that right there. Okay, so now we're going to finish the bottom waterline. So I'm going back into that Wet n Wild palette, and I'm going to grab this shade right here. I'm just going to use a brush by Cala. Just going to run that right along my waterline, or right below it. Like, I love this shade, and I absolutely love this palette. Like, this is going to probably be my new go-to palette. Like, it's amazing. So I'm going to go back in with this transition shade right here. I'm using a brush from Cala, and I'm just going to run that right along the last shade we took on the lower lashes. So I'm going to take this shade right here to highlight. So I'm going to use a brush by Profusion. I'm going to use that to highlight my inner corner and also the brow bone as well. Like, shout out to Wet n Wild. You definitely killed it with that eyeshadow palette. Like, for real, that is amazing. So I'm just going to go back in with that same Wet n Wild mascara and get the lower lashes. So what do you guys think about this eyeshadow look? I am absolutely loving it. Now moving on for lip gloss. This is the Jungle Rock in the shade Fearless. I have absolutely been loving this gloss on its own, with a lip liner, whatever, even over top of lipstick. Like, it's amazing. And this stuff does not get sticky. That's another reason why I absolutely love it. So I'm going to go ahead and set my face. So I think I'm going to use that Wet n Wild Photo Focus The Rose 3-in-1 Primer Water. Another one I have that I absolutely love is the Photo Focus Setting Spray. So this one is just a pure setting spray. It is not a primer water, anything like that. So since I know how this one performs already, I'm going to go in with the rose water one. I'm just going to spray it all over the face. Okay guys, so I think this is the finished look. I will give you a close-up. Yes, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this full face of Wet n Wild makeup. If you guys do like seeing videos like this, comment down in the comment box below and let me know what you want to see next. I can always do e.l.f., Maybelline, brands like that. So if you want me to do something like that, let me know. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all your support. To all the people that have subscribed to my channel, that watch me faithfully, that like my stuff. Big hugs to you, and I love you guys so, so much. So if you did like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you in my next video.